4.3 billion people live across this vast continent called Asia, and we are telling their stories. On this edition, On the Lookout, vigilantes in Thailand take matters into their own hands to put a stop to human trafficking. And coming to the rescue, a Turkish teen helps Syrian refugee children work through the psychological damage of war.
One of them told us that he saw his mother dying in front of his eyes. A bomb came and exploded right next to her mom.
I'm Tony Cheng, and this is Assignment Asia. From Syrian refugees traveling across the Mediterranean to try and get into Europe, to those of the Rohingya ethnic minority coming down here on the Andaman Sea in rickety boats trying to move to Southeast Asia, it's clear there is a global dilemma over refugees. Thailand is no exception. Here the refugees are targeted by human traffickers who abuse and exploit them. But there's a group of vigilantes here who've decided to try and put an end to the human trafficking that's taking place in their own backyard. So we came down here to Phang Nga province to try and meet them and some of those people that are being exploited and in some cases even killed.
These men are vigilantes, volunteers, on the trail of human traffickers. And they're the only thing standing in the way of a people smuggling route worth hundreds of millions of dollars a year.
จุดนี้เป็นจุดที่ขนโรฮิงญาจากถนนใหญ่เข้ามากับรถตรงนี้ถอยรถแล้วก็ให้โรฮิงญาลงปุ๊บรถเขาจะกลับไปแล้วก็ผ่านด่าน
They set out for a grueling few hours march up into the hills overlooking Phang Nga. They know the traffickers use this route to skirt around checkpoints on the road. But they have to be careful. The gangs of people smugglers are armed and dangerous.
ปืน M16 เหมือนกันที่เช็คมานะว่ามีปืนเถื่อน M16 1 กระบอกแต่อาวุธปืนสั้นนี้เขาต้องมีแน่
They travel further up the path. The jungle is thick and the mountains steep. It's just a few hours' drive from the tourist paradise of Phuket, but we might as well be 1,000 miles away. The team are all volunteers, but they feel they have a duty to stop the human traffickers because no one else is.
เรามีความจริงใจที่อยากจะทำเพื่อประเทศเพราะการที่ทำงานตรงนี้ท่านนายอำเภอเขารู้ว่าทำเพื่ออะไรตรงไหนเหมือนพวกผมรู้พวกผมก็อยากทำตรงนั้นให้ประเทศเรามีภาพลักษณ์ที่ดีไม่มีเรื่องแบบนี้ให้ต่างชาติได้ทั่วโลกเขามองเราในจุดที่ว่าเป็นประเทศที่ว่า
The vigilantes find a ripped dress in the style of a Rohingya Muslim woman. The rips indicate an assault. They think this was evidence of a rape, a fate that befalls many of the women on the human smuggling trail. And they say the traffickers have done much worse. One woman they rescued told them her husband had been murdered in cold blood.
เขาบอกว่าเขาพาสามีมาด้วยแต่สามีเขาก็โดนเชือดคอทิ้งที่รู้สึกว่าน่าจะเป็นที่คุระบุรีตอนที่ให้ล่ามมาสัมภาษณ์มาสอบนะเพราะว่าเดินไม่ไหวไงสามีเขาไม่สบายคือการที่ว่าไม่สบายเดินไม่ไหวนี่คือเป็นการถ่วงเวลาของพวกที่ขนไงมันเลยไม่เสียเวลามันก็ฆ่าทิ้งเอาพวกที่เดินได้อะไรไม่ต้องมีการถ่วงเวลามันไงพวกนี้มันต้องใช้เวลามันต้องให้เวลาน้อยที่สุด
The traffickers herd their human cargo up the mountains like cattle.
We've just walked an hour through the thick jungle up this steep mountain. This is the path the Rohingya take to skirt around the checkpoint on the main road down below. It's the main checkpoint on the road going to the south, the only way they can get out of here. For us, this was pretty hard work, but for many of the Rohingya who come down here who've been starved in camps down on the islands along the coast, getting through this kind of jungle is virtually impossible. Rahina Begum knows how hard that journey is. She's an ethnic Rohingya from Myanmar. 7 months ago, she set out after paying the smugglers to get her to Malaysia. She was 4 months pregnant, but the smugglers showed her no mercy.
Hana kole mare sajjan asana siangor boy sajjan made tinjon bishi gom ekjon bishi harap ite begoda mara takede bay hanna kole mare hata hole mare ene chole einda mortone boyro hata hole matter her zaire ladi lole mare goy bade mai vendor phani tani ani dile mare bishi jala jontran gore bade bat hana fina liyo bishi dukaye to era moriyo gi.
Rahina now lives in a detention camp. She was rescued by Thai officials just before she gave birth. But things could have turned out much worse. Like many others at the detention camp, Rahina paid just over $1,000 to be smuggled into Malaysia. Once in Thailand, however, she was held hostage in a jungle camp while the traffickers tried to extort more money from her family. The Civilian Defence Force team in Phang Nga know these camps are out there. They just don't know where. But they're setting out to try and find them. In the narrow creeks and rivers that run into the sea, it's like looking for a needle in a haystack. Patrols currently going through these little waterways that crisscross through the mangrove, and you can see how easy it would be for the traffickers to hide thousands of people that they've just brought down from Myanmar and Bangladesh. These are vast, unpopulated and inaccessible stretches of coastline. The Vigilantes search as best they can, but the thick undergrowth makes it virtually impossible to see onto land. There are sites the traffickers have used before, where they're likely to return. This island has been used on and off for about 12 months. There's evidence everywhere: abandoned cases and clothes, products from Myanmar, coins from Bangladesh. The patrol advances with caution. They don't know what or who is also on this island. But the traffickers have moved on. Guiding the group is 22-year-old Raihan from Bangladesh. He says the smugglers forcibly took him after luring him to the coast with the promise of a new job. After 3 weeks at sea, he was brought here, where the smugglers sorted their human cargo into groups.
আরা বাংলার মানুষ এক সাইডে রাখিছে কারণ টেকনাফ সিরাগাঙ্গের বর্মার ভাষা তো মিলাইন না না দেখুন আর আলাদা রাখিছে বর্মার মানুষ আলাদা রাখিছে রাখি হাতের একটা বান্দি ফলাইছে হাতের মধ্যে ওই দড়ি আছে না দড়ি দিয়ে বান্দি ফলাইছে.
His jailers were dividing the captives according to how much ransom they could raise. Those with skills, those with family in Malaysia, would be worth more. Others simply sold off as slaves. Raihan says he was shocked by the inhumanity of the traffickers. But some did, and Raihan shows me what he says is a grave where one of his group was beaten to death. And the Vigilantes have made a similar discovery, not far from the main campsite.
ซึ่งบางครั้งที่นำเข้ามาอาจจะโดนทารุณกรรมหรือว่าโดนข่มขืนหรือว่าอาจจะป่วยอะไรอย่างนี้แล้วก็เสียชีวิต
But these volunteers have no power to investigate or detain. Why haven't the police or the army been to investigate?
ก็ที่เราทำคือเราเหมือนกับว่างานภาคประชาชนผมทำเท่าที่หน้าที่ทำได้มากกว่าผมไม่ได้ไปก้าวไก่อะไรของเขา
That's a huge frustration for the Vigilantes. The police have set up a checkpoint on the main road going south, but they've done little else.
เหมือนพวกผมก็ทำงานลำบากในขั้นตอนหนึ่งพอถึงชั้นศาลชั้นตำรวจเราทำสำนวนส่งตำรวจส่งอัยการแล้วส่งศาลจากที่ว่าหลักฐานข้อมูลการสอบสวนอะไรของเราคือถ้ามองจริงๆแล้วมันชัดเจนมันสมควรที่จะตั้งข้อหาค้ามนุษย์ได้แต่ไปถึงชั้นตำรวจชั้นอัยการกลายเป็นแค่ข้อหานำพาหลบหนีเข้าเมืองแค่นั้น
And with the human trade now worth hundreds of millions of dollars, the obvious consequence is corruption.
ส่วนมากมันก็ผลพวงมาจากเรื่องเงินคอร์รัปชันคนระดับใหญ่เขาทำอะไรเงี้ยเราระดับน้อยระดับตัวเล็กแต่เรามีความจริงใจที่อยากจะทำเพื่อประเทศเพราะการที่ทำงานตรงนี้ท่านมานิดท่านนายอำเภอเขารู้ว่าทำเพื่ออะไรตรงไหน
Even so, in May of this year, the problem became too big to ignore. Mass graves were discovered on both sides of the Thai-Malaysian border that contained hundreds of bodies. Camps where the refugees had been held prisoner in bamboo cages. In Thailand, several high-profile arrests, including one of the generals who'd been in charge of stopping the traffickers. Even the gravesite we had been shown was unearthed. The body inside was of a woman. She'd been 4 months pregnant. In the light of these discoveries, we went to the Thai police to ask them why they'd allowed these atrocities to happen. You found all of this information and evidence. Why has it taken so long for these investigations to happen?
I can say that it's so sad. Why we have to take so long time to run investigation. So that I tell you, Thailand has also problem. We can say that some police officer, some governmental official in the southern Thailand, perhaps they can negligence when something bad happen. Someone said that they can have a benefit or illegal profits from the case, but anyway now I can say that it's not a good way to look back why we have to take so long, why we just keep quiet to run investigation from the so sad thing happen. I think now is a good time for us to look forward and then do something really concrete to fix the problem. I think it's better to think like that.
It may be better for the police, but looking forward is pretty hard for Mohammed. 11 years old, he was kidnapped by the traffickers last September. Mohammed spent 2 months at sea and 1 month in the jungle before the group he was with were caught by the Vigilantes. He just wants to go home to his parents, but he can't. The government of Myanmar doesn't recognize the Rohingya's claim to nationality. While we're filming, someone calls for him. It's his mother.
Okay.
This is the first time he's spoken to her since he was taken from Myanmar.
Mama simon madam lagdi morama erga made jonate ma lagdi dalalama aro ma holu tor madir gore mona kala na de surgori dori bade hole aro madir gore.
An 11-year-old boy, far from home, without his mum and dad. Mohammed doesn't want to let go. Mohammed might be eligible to go to the United States, but you can see he really just wants to go back to Myanmar. Several months after we met Mohammed, we returned to Phang Nga. He's now taking classes in a local school for migrants from Myanmar. It is some sort of normality, but there remains a gaping hole in his life. His parents are still far away, and his chances of seeing them in the next few years are small. The plight of the Rohingya refugees is now global news. But for all the government initiatives and pledges of aid, this little boy is still separated from the people he loves and relies on most. Mohammed has been told that he might get the chance to see his parents again in 2 or 3 years' time once he's been resettled in the United States. But he still doesn't know when or even if that's going to happen. Now, still to come on Assignment Asia. Healing their wounds, how a group in Turkey is using art and music to help Syrian refugee children.
Meet China's decision makers and thought leaders. See them in action, hear their views, debate their policies. Meet China's leaders with me. I'm Robert Lawrence Kuhn.
Welcome back. It's one thing being a refugee and finding a safe place to live. It's another, once you've found that safe place to live, but dealing with the disturbing memories of the past. Sadly, for many Syrian refugees, particularly children, that's often the case, as they have no help dealing with the trauma that they've undergone. Mikhail Bardavid met a young man in Turkey who's trying to introduce creative therapy and a bit of fun into the lives of young Syrian children.
اجت الطيارة صارت تقصفنا درت الإنذار تبعت الإنذار هي المهم نحضر منه هربوا على الهي حسن يهربوا على الملجأ ومنهم ماتوا ما حسنوا يهربوا.
Twelve-year-old Saad is one of countless Syrian children affected by war. He may not have been killed or injured, but he is hurt psychologically. He's traumatized. Saad is among the roughly 800,000 children whose families escaped from Syria into neighboring Turkey. Some of them found their way to Istanbul. Sultanbeyli is one of Istanbul's poorest districts. With a population of over 300,000, it is a rural, working-class area. It has also become home to the largest group of Syrians in Istanbul, with over 9,500 registered refugees. They've managed to flee the war back home, but are facing many other difficulties here in Turkey as they struggle to survive. Saad's father, Ahmed Zerhati, found a job as a Quran teacher at one of the few local Syrian schools. He recalls the horrors he and his family endured in Syria.
ومرة يعني في مسجد بحلب اسمه والله أعلم الأنصار على ما أذكر كان هناك أطفال يتعلمون القرآن الكريم أطفال صغار جاءت الطيارة وقصفت المسجد ومات عدد يعني لا يقل عن 30 طفل في ذلك الوقت وكان سعد بصحبة أمه أنا لم أذهب ذهب هو وأمه وشاهدوا تلك المناظر.
Ahmed says the war deeply affected his son and that the behavioral and psychological effects were clear.
موضوع النوم الولد وهو نائم يتكلم عن الدمار، يتكلم طيارة، يصرخ ماما، يعني هو يخاف، يعني وهو نائم يصرخ ماما، يظن أنه يعني طيارة قادمة.
From 2011, Turkey had an open-door policy for Syrian refugees. The government offered support, camps for housing, schools for children, and in some areas, vocational training. But by 2015, the number of refugees reached 1.5 million, making it difficult for government and locals to cope.
As the Syrian refugees became more part of our society and our culture, the Turkish people's attitudes changed. They're not welcoming the Syrians anymore.
One day, 16-year-old Emir Özsuraş spotted a young Syrian refugee on the streets and decided he wanted to help.
You know, they're only kids. And because of this war, because of all the things that they saw, you know, they try to act all grown up. And we don't want that to happen.
So he came up with Project Lift.
I define Project Lift as the key to happiness, because once we're done with the kids, once they get their therapy, once they gain the power to control their fear and overcome any obstacle in their life, they'll find true happiness.
The project is short. It lasts 5 days, and it combines 3 types of expressive therapies: music, dance and movement, and art. 60 children are divided into 3 classes to explore and express their emotions with the guidance of therapists.
The moments that they share their stories with us were the most shocking moments of my life, actually. Because these kids, you know, they've seen some horrible stuff. One of them told us that he saw his mother dying in front of his eyes. A bomb came and exploded right next to her mom.
The project has even gotten the backing of the local municipal government.
Tabii bu cümle sıkça kullanılır, insan odaklı yönetim anlayışı diye. Biz bunu yaşamak istiyoruz, yaşatmak istiyoruz. Bu anlamda Sultanbeyli ilçemizde bu yönümüzü geliştirmeye devam ederken hem Sultanbeyli'deki kardeşlerimize ilgili önemli projeler yapıyoruz, hem de böyle bir atmosferde ortada bir dram var, savaş var ve savaşın en fazla mağduru kadınlar ve çocuklar. Özellikle biz diğer anlamda, lojistik anlamda yardımcı olmaya çalışırken bir de o çocukların psikolojileri, o çocukların yaşadıkları travmalar bizim açımızdan da dikkate alınması gereken bir konuydu.
It feels great doing something good for that kid, you know. When we try to help him, we feel amazing. Because even if we help a single person, we know that it means a lot. You know, to change someone's life, to help him overcome that moment, it means a lot.
Emir searched for a team of expressive therapists who were willing to volunteer and could tailor a program for refugee children. That's when he found Leyla Akça.
When they don't have a way or a place, a safe place to express themselves, they just bottle up, and it will become explosive at some point. Their sense of self will shatter at some point, and it will spill out. They can put themselves in dangerous situations, and then it can even lead to suicide.
حسيت إنهم بسطانين كتير وفرحانين عم نرسم. أنا أول مرة برسم أنا. هي كان في عالم طالعين مظاهرة. المهم اجت الطيارة صارت تضرب عليهم والبوليس. منهم حسنوا يهربوا، بس حسنوا يهربوا على بيوتهم، ومنهم ما حسنوا يهربوا قتلوهم. اجت سيارة الإسعاف، هي إنه إسعاف تركي، وأنقذوهم.
For the children of war, the opportunity to express their feelings in a safe place is crucial for the healing process to begin.
So we teach them what emotions are and how to detect those emotions and where they feel those emotions in their bodies, and also what different sounds mean to them, what emotions they bring up, and then different movements. How can we express our feelings through our movements?
This is where the children participate in dance therapy sessions. It is a vital part of the program because it integrates body, mind, and soul. When a child experiences trauma, the effects can be stored in the cells of the body. So it is vital to mobilize this energy and allow children to express themselves with movement in a safe environment. Some of the Syrian children came to Turkey with one or both parents, some with just a relative. But not everyone has a home. There are those who have the means to rent a house, while others live in camps or even on the streets. Rehem arrived in 2013 with her mother and 6 siblings. The family says her father was taken away by Syrian government officials in 2013. They haven't heard from him since. Rehem's experience with her father is reflected in her art at Project Lift.
بس أكتريتهم إنه أنا وأبوي وهيك إنه ورسمت عين ونفس الوقت إنه ارتحت إنه هيك إنه رسمت شغلة إنه تعبر على حزني وهيك طلع شيء حزن.
Rehem's mother says the program has resulted in a change in her daughter's behavior.
يعني بحاول أقدر الإمكان أبعدهم أنا من قبل النشاط والنشاط يعني إجا بوقته كتير يعني بوقته بوقت كتير كويس إنه أنا كنت دريت هيك شيء. أنا يعني لما لقيت التليفون يمكن لقيت كتير إنه استعداد لهالموضوع هذا. أنا كنت يعني أنا نفسي إنه أريد أبعد عن هالمواضيع هي. عدى عليهم كتير يعني أوقات إنه قاسي عليهم إنه ما كويس علي. أنا حابة أبعد عن المواضيع هي. ونشاط أنا كتير أنا حقق لي إنه رغبة إنه ردت إنه استفدتوا. مثلا الوقت اللي يجوا من النشاط إنه قال لهم إيش استفدتوا؟ إيش فرحتوا؟ إيش عملتوا؟ إيش لعبتوا؟ مشان أنا أرسخ لهم النقطة في مخهم هي. يعني الموضوع اللي عملوه هنيك الشيء كتبوه إنه إيش صوروكم؟ إيش فرحوكم؟ إيش انبسطتوا؟ مشان هذا الموضوع ثبت في مخهم يعني. والتفتوا للامور الدراسيه اكثر يعني صار دفتر الرسم اللي جابوا لهم اياهم يمكن اذا فتحتوهم تلاقوهم مليانين. حتى يعني الغيوم صارت يرسموها. لاحظت ان الموضوع ما كان يعني شفت يعني ما حتى كنت متيه عنهم يعني بالاحرى. حتى الغيوم اللي يرسموهم عليهم وجه، حتى الشمس اللي يرسموها عليها وجه مبتسمه، حتى النجمه عليها وش يعني مبتسم.
Emir has also witnessed profound changes in the children.
Once we're finished with the project, we see that they change a lot. Not in terms of their personality, but in terms of how they show their personality. Because you know these kids are in a huge depression. Once we help them, they can be more like themselves. You know, they remember that they're only kids.
UNICEF estimates some 14 million children have been affected by the conflict in Syria, and there's no end in sight. One thing is for sure, it will take a lot of time and more projects like these before these children can heal. For Assignment Asia, I'm Michal Bardavid in Istanbul, Turkey.
Project Lift uses some unconventional models that aren't typically part of creative arts therapy, but if the global psychological community continues to work helping refugee children, it could have an impact on future therapy models. Well, that's all the time we have for today. You can find all of our stories on our website at www.assignment-asia.com. And if you've got any thoughts or ideas for future shows, please contact us via social media. I'm Tony Cheng. Thanks for watching, and join us again on Assignment Asia.